Boopity boop.
All right, I need to check to make sure that my audio is actually from the right thing. Ah, no, it's not because I unplugged my thingy.
Put your thingy back where it belongs, Kate.
Put your thingy back where it goes. All right, checking that audio. Does that sound better?
Yes.
Yes, there we go. That's much better. All right, I'm ready to go when you are.
All right, recording audio now.
Recording the audio.
Hi, Irene.
Oh, hi, Dom. How are you? Or is it David?
Sure. Oh, God.
I was just, for those of you who don't know who Irene is, I just was saying to Dom that I was on my WhatsApp and I got a random text from someone once that said, "Are you David? I want to know if the clothing store can renew the lease." And I said, "Sorry, I'm not David. I'm Irene. Good luck." Then the person said, "Sorry, your number is very similar to my friend's. I'm sorry for the misunderstanding. I hope you understand." And I said, "That's okay. No problems. Have a nice evening." And they said, "You are a good person. Thank you for your patience."
I love that Irene has turned into the good side, good version of you. Like,
oh my God, of course. That's
so
perfect.
instead of like, you know, a negative or evil alter ego, Irene is your like angel alter ego.
Yes. My not negative, but my party alter ego is Pocahontas. And I'll save that story for another time. It's got nothing to do with cultural appropriation or race. It is not that. I will explain it again one time, but today is not the day.
You'll just have to tune in for another one of our episodes where we drop that little nugget somewhere.
Maybe it'll even be a little Patreon sneaky deaky peeky. Who knows?
How have you been, Kate?
I've been pretty well. I had a bit of a back injury over the weekend and it was not caused by anything fun. I was cleaning my fish tank, and that's not a euphemism. I have a fish tank with a goldfish and it's a sort of biggish tank, and I need to sort of lean over the bench to pull it towards the sink so that I can empty the water. And as I did that, because I'm over 30 years old, apparently just an action I've done 1,000 times before was not right on that day. My body wasn't quite feeling it. Mercury was in retrograde and my back completely seized up. So it was quite the time. I had almost like, you know, a Miranda moment from Sex and the City when she does her neck and Aiden comes over and she's pissed at Carrie. And I almost had that. I was lying on the kitchen floor thinking, who do I call? Like, who do I call to come and pick me up off the floor? Who's got an Aiden that will come and collect me?
So just for clarity's sake, I was not that person called.
The good thing was I didn't have to call anyone. My back came back to life after a little bit. So that's fortunate. But that was my last few days. How about you, Dom? What have you been up to?
Oh, you know, just the usual whizzy diz biz business.
Whizzy diz biz.
Keeping myself out of trouble. You know, trying to stay warm because it's pretty bloody cold.
Oh, yeah, it is. And it's currently 10 degrees Celsius in Melbourne right now. So if you're listening from somewhere else, we've probably got listeners. I know we've got quite a lot in the UK. So if you listen to this and you're like 10 degrees Celsius, that's like summer. But it doesn't feel like it here. That's for sure.
For us. Well, right. Kate, I guess, you know, speaking of injuries and all that sort of stuff, I guess you were just in the wrong place at the wrong time when you were cleaning this fish tank.
Oh my God, golf clap. That was fantastic. I really truly was in the wrong place at the wrong time, which is such a cute little kind of lead into our story for today. But before I get into my story, Boo Pod shout out. I have got a Boop Pod. And today I literally wrote boopity boop in my script today so that I don't forget. But we are going to be boo-podding Murder Road Trip. Now, the hosts, Shan and Troy, they take you on a road trip of true crime. It's really cool. It's got a really cute little concept. Yeah. They do talk about it in their promo, so I'm not going to double up on what they're going to share. But here is Murder Road Trip's promo. Boopity boop. Amazing. So yes, there you go. Isn't that a cool concept that they're doing all of the states and they just pick a true crime from each of those states? It's really, it's so cool.
Shannon, Troy, you were totally onto such a kick-ass idea because
yeah,
first thing I put on when I'm road tripping is a true crime podcast. Like,
absolutely
gets me by every time. So love this idea. I mean, I can't drive to the States right at this moment.
No.
But hey, maybe when we're super rich and famous, Kate, and we tour the States, we can, you know, jump on that bandwagon ourselves.
That's right. Maybe we can get Shannon Troy to take us to the next state for whatever they're up to.
Yes, please.
Cool. So make sure you like, subscribe, tick the boxes, follow, put the bell on, do all of those things. And whilst you're at it, do that for Shitting Bricks as well. Because if you haven't, you know, we want to be friends.
Yeah, and if you don't, you're kind of a shit human being. So
that's what I always say. There's no in between. It's either we're friends or you're a shitty human being. That is it. All right. So, Dom, last week we introduced a series of episodes. I mentioned that I got on a bit of a rabbit hole in terms of people being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I thought that was a really, neat concept. So I thought I'm going to go with this and we'll tell some stories about people in history who have just been in the wrong place at the wrong time for whatever reason. But also looking back over that episode, we did talk about Rocco's Modern Life last week for pop culture, but I have got a pop culture film for this week, and it is called Wrong Place, Wrong Time.
No way. Fuck off.
Here is the synopsis. An elite team of thieves, always good to have an elite team of thieves, they take refuge with a family after a heist goes horribly wrong. They soon find themselves in the fight for their lives when one of their hosts turns into a mysterious creature. Now, here are some of the reviews of this film. There is no ideal point to watch this one. It's how quickly you want to get it over with and how you managed to lose a bet that made you watch it in the first place. The next review, I'd give this hardcore, stupid core horror a hard pass. The next one was, overall, Wrong Place, Wrong Time is a disjointed mess of a movie that delivers a strange yet predictable story. So it copped 33% by critics on Rotten Tomato and a whopping 0% from anybody that has seen it.
Okay, I've got some thoughts, feelings, and emotions about this.
Yes.
Two things. I love that it was an elite, band
elite
of thieves.
Elite thieves.
Imagine if it was just like the worst thieves in the world banded together and tried to have a crack at whatever. That would probably make this a more interesting movie.
Yep.
But for our listeners, this is a bit of a teaser. And sorry, Kate, if I'm stepping on your beautiful toes. But
step on everything.
This is a bit of a teaser because for our Patreon launch, Kate and I have been toying with the idea of doing an extra bonus episode once a week, a short little review of our pop culture reference of the week.
That's right.
So you would only get access to this bonus episode if you became one of our special Patreons.
That's right.
So keep an eye out for where you might hear a little bit more of Kate and I's amazing review talent.
I mean, it can't be any better than I would give this film a hard pass. Like, it can't be any better. And that will be included in our little bonus.
Love it. Well, thanks, Kate. I'm dying to watch this movie.
I bet. I know. It was a real good one. I really just thought, we'll stick with that. Now, I've got a couple of stories to tell you today that fit into our Wrong Place, Wrong Time theme.
Yeah.
A bit of a roller coaster. We'll see how we go. All right.
Strapped in.
The first Wrong Place, Wrong Time character is someone that I discovered in an All Things Interesting article. Was published in 2018. So we are going to hear the story of Frano or Frane Selak. Now it's like Frane. I'm going to call him Frane because that's how it's more commonly referred to. Wow, I couldn't figure out what I was saying there. So he had never been on a plane before. And desperate times called for desperate measures. So according to Selak, the year was 1963, and the 32-year-old Croatian man had just received word that his mother was ill, making him determined to fly immediately from Zagreb to Rijeka in Croatia to see her. Apologies to everybody from Croatia for pronunciation.
We love it.
I know. The earliest flight available was already booked, but Salak said he managed to persuade the sympathetic airline to let him sit in the plane's rear with a flight attendant.
Oh, that's kind of sweet.
Yeah. Now, Salak recalled that the first experience with air travel went smoothly until shortly before landing, when the unthinkable happened. One of the plane's doors somehow flew open.
Sure.
Now,
in flight entertainment.
I know, literally. Salak told the Telegraph in 2003, 1 minute we were drinking tea and the next the door was ripped open and the flight attendant was sucked into midair, followed shortly by me.
Okay.
Soon, Salak said that the plane crashed and the flight attendant, 2 pilots and 17 other passengers lay dead. Salak, however, claimed to have miraculously survived after landing in a haystack that cushioned his fall.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, he's alive, so we can't really,
Yeah. Well, that's true. But... Exactly. Now, that is just one of the 7 incredible brushes with death that Frayne Salak said he endured.
All right, I'm counting for you, Kate.
Excellent. Take notes. The year before the plane crash, Salak said that he was on a train from Sarajevo to Dubrovnik that derailed and crashed into an icy river. But he claimed that despite suffering from hypothermia and a broken arm, he swam to safety and survived. So that's number 1. In 1966, according to Salak, he was on a bus that skidded into a river, lots of water-based activities, leaving 4 dead whilst he swam safely to the banks and only suffered minor cuts and bruises.
All right, we've done trains.
Trains, planes, automobiles. Not automobiles yet, but here we go. In 1970 and 1973, Salak reportedly survived 2 similar accidents in which his car spontaneously caught fire whilst he was driving, and it exploded just after he was able to flee to safety.
Oh.
Then, after 22 incident-free years, so he had one of those boards up that said days since car accident, train accident, plane accident. After 22 accident-free years, Salak said that he survived being hit by a bus while walking in Zagreb in 1995.
Okay, Croatia sounded like a real dangerous place.
Literally, I know. The following year, so 1996, Salak claimed that he was driving in the Croatian mountains when an oncoming truck caused him to swerve off a 300-foot cliff. However, he said that he was able to jump out at the last second and watch a tree at the cliff's edge from a tree at the cliff's edge as his car plummeted downwards.
Oh, God.
He's really killing it. Salak told the Telegraph that his friends were eventually hesitant to get in a vehicle with him or even be near him at all. No shit.
Yeah. How about you stop playing murder road trip podcasts?
Yes.
And just, focus on the road.
Concentrate. That's right, exactly. Now, after he had said his friends didn't want to really, be mates, he was like, there came a stage when I was lucky to have any friends at all. Many of them stopped seeing me and they said that I was really bad karma.
Ooh, that's a bit harsh.
Yeah. As one of Salak's neighbors said, put it like this: if I heard Frayne had booked a flight or a train, I'd cancel.
he tell him he's dreaming.
Tell him he's dreaming. Honey, we are not going to the bloody Hawaii this week. Frayne's off there. We're not going. Forget it. Now, nevertheless, Frayne Salak remained optimistic despite his many brush with death stories. You could look at it 2 ways, he said in 2003. I was either the unluckiest man in the world or the luckiest. I preferred to believe the latter. I mean, he survived all of these things, so I think he's the luckiest, don't you?
Yeah, I think maybe the plane is an unlucky situation. That's definitely wrong place, wrong time. Like,
oh yeah, it's like Final Destination shit.
But all the other shit, that's a bit like, yeah, you're lucky, buddy, because that stuff can happen.
Yeah.
But air travel, like you and I have discussed in previous episodes, is such a safe place to be.
Yeah, we love it. But yeah, not for Frayne. Now, Frayne also said that I just know there will be no more accidents, he added. I'm going to enjoy my life now. I feel like I've been reborn. God's been watching over me all these years. The devil has moved on to torment someone else.
Oh, God. Okay, love.
I know. So the devil moved on from our mate, Parkour, onto Frayne.
Yeah.
And now he's like, no, now the devil's gone. We're all right. Now, Frayne Selak may have been feeling especially optimistic when he made those comments because it was soon after that he reportedly won a lottery jackpot of £600,000. So nearly $1 million. So he wins the lotto. He's like, the devil be gone. Bring in the cash.
Well, supposedly a lot of bad shit happens to people that win the lottery. Like,
oh my gosh.
You know,
I'm writing that down. That's another story.
Yeah, like people. Lottery. I know some of it's self-inflicted by spending the money and all that kind of crap, but you know, it's kind of a little like what's his name from Lost? He wins the lottery and then it's all just
that's right.
Shit.
And he becomes lost.
Mm.
Is that the plot of that show? Sorry, I haven't actually watched it, but a plane crashes in that, don't they?
Yeah, Kate.
On an island.
Do yourself a favor. Probably one of the greatest television shows ever made.
Whoa, that's a big call. All right, I'll put it on my list. All right, so it was a fitting bit of good fortune for Frayne, a man whose life story seemed to depend on so much luck. Now, Selak recounted his 7 stories. Was there 7? Because it was 2 cars.
2 cars, yeah.
Okay, cool, perfect. He recounted his 7 stories of near-death experiences time and time again to outlets like The Telegraph and Der Spiegel. The Spiegel, I assume is another news outlet. But once his stories went international, thanks to the interviews he started giving after his reported lottery win, some people began to doubt the validity of his incredible tales. In the age of Google, those who doubt Selak point to the lack of official records documenting any fatal Croatian plane crashes in '63 or fatal train crashes in the preceding year. At the same time, the BBC gave the year of his first accident as 1957, not 1962, and said it was on a bus, not a train. So they're starting to poke holes. Google is getting people to poke holes in these stories. Meanwhile, there have also been inconsistencies in Selak's own stories. When the Telegraph interviewed him in 2003, he said he'd been playing the lottery consistently for years and then finally won. But when the Telegraph spoke to him again in 2010, when he said he gave away a lot of his fortune to various charitable causes, the story was that he won the jackpot the first time he ever played. So this year is, it's the lotto win. It's likely to have changed across those various accounts.
Yeah, this is giving me vibes of, you know, when I'm partial to a bevy or two, I have inherited my family's and people's affinity to exaggerate my stories.
Yes.
Now, they're never lies. They're just embellishments. And
that's right.
You have a grand old time when I tell them. Everyone does.
Of course.
But I'll be the first to admit that they're not all entirely accurate. And I'm having a vibe. I'm feeling a connection with
Frayne. Yes.
With Frayne on absolutely. This ability of embellishing.
Well, that's right. I hear that for sure. And they went on to say that relatively minor quibbles that could easily be the result of simple mistakes, were there. But these kinds of discrepancies are hard to ignore when the survival stories at the center of Selak's biography are quite hard to believe themselves. But for what it's worth, Selak's claim to have survived falling out of a plane isn't without precedent. A Serbian flight attendant by the name of Vesna Vulovic survived a 33,000-foot fall out of a plane after terrorists detonated a bomb that tore the craft apart in the skies over Czechoslovakia in 1972. So, piss off, Frayne, if you're telling your lying stories, which, I mean, all of those, if even one of those is true, 100% wrong place, wrong time. But I was reading this and went, I can't leave our listeners with a story that's like could potentially all be made up. Like, that's
Yeah.
not really what we do. We like the facts. We like, some stories that are a little bit more juicy.
Based on truth. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went ahead and said, all right, Vesna, what have you been up to, doll? How did you survive a 33,000 foot fall? Here we go.
Oh.
Miss Vulovich's story, her improbable story, began on January 26th, 1972 in Copenhagen, where she was do you say Copenhagen or Copenhagen?
I'd say Hagen.
Okay, I'm going to say Hagen because it's like Tom Hagen from Godfather.
Sure.
All right, perfect.
I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah. So in Copenhagen, where she was assigned to a Yugoslav Airlines crew for a flight to Belgrade. She recalled that she should not have been there. Another flight attendant, also named Vesna, was supposed to be on the roster.
Oh, wrong Vesna.
Yes, wrong Vesna. Classic mistake. I do it all the time. So Vesna wasn't even supposed to be there. Vesna was supposed to be there, but Vesna ended up getting called anyway. So automatically, wronger placer, wronger timer. So what happens to this Vesna? An hour into the flight, the plane, it was a DC-9. I don't know what that was, but if you're a plane enthusiast, giddy up. It blew up over the Czech village of, there's no vowels, Zbriska. Zbriska Kamens. Yep, please write in.
Yeah.
As others were believed to have been sucked out of the jet into sub-freezing temperatures, Vesna remained inside part of the shattered fuselage, wedged in by a food cart as it was plunging towards the earth. Yeah.
Fuck, right. I mean, I guess you could have a bicky and one of those little bottles of booze on her way.
I've got to get much. You can never get those cheese and bickies open, though. It's tricky. Like, so she'd be struggling with that.
Just a pack of nuts flying in her face.
Wouldn't be the first time for some of us. So she's wedged in by a food cart as the plane is plummeting towards Earth. Now, trees broke the fall of the fuselage section and snow on the hills cushioned its landing. Wow. So, it's bashed into trees, it slowed it down, it's then hit the snow, which is fortunate enough to, stop it from evaporating on impact, I suppose.
Absolutely.
Now, the Guinness Book of World Records says the plunge from the height of 33,000 feet is the longest recorded fall without a parachute.
Yeah, I was about to say this has to be a world record.
Yeah. Now, the Czech authorities concluded that explosives in a suitcase had detonated and tore the jet apart. But an investigation by 2 reporters in Prague in 2009 challenged that account. Oh, these investigators just putting holes in me stories. They concluded that the DC-9 was mistakenly shot down by the Czechoslovakian Air Force at an altitude of only 800 meters, or about 2,625 feet. Oh. Now, I love having the internet. Dom, how about you?
It's a blessing and a curse sometimes.
Oh my goodness. The next line in my script is it's a blessing and a curse. Are you kidding? I can screenshot this. I swear down. It says it's a blessing and a curse.
We are leveling up as podcasting geniuses. Please give us an Emmy for our podcast. Woo woo.
So, it is a blessing and a curse, the old internets, but when I am finding further information that I need to, really draw our listeners in and to help them to understand, particularly measurements, heights, distances, things like that,
right,
you can always count on a 1990s vibe original web page. And the one that I found, and we will put the link in socials. It is called the Splat Calculator.
Yes, please.
Now, this classic website it uses mathematics and physics and things that are far beyond me to calculate how long it takes to fall a certain distance. It's got like a bit of a free climbing vibe to it, a rock climbing vibe. So I would assume if you're a rock climber and you're free climbing, you'd want to know how long would it take me to hit the ground.
Probably one of those things that they've all got memberships to.
Well, yeah. So for all of you listening, here is the splat calculator, time. I wanted to know if she's up there in that plane pinned behind a food cart, that's quite a ways to fall.
Yeah,
so 33,000 feet. Yeah, literally. So 33,000 feet, according to Splat Calculator, is 10,058 meters, thereabout.
Okay.
So thereabouts. To fall from that height, now this is not taking into account the fuselage, so the fact that she's still inside of a plane. So obviously the weight is significantly different. I did this on the basis of just a human body falling from that height. So let's just go from that. But for a human to fall 10,058 meters, it would take 45.3 seconds to hit the ground.
Only that long.
That is like a lifetime of falling, in my opinion. 45 seconds.
I'm sure look, I don't know. None of us have. It's very rare for people to be able to give their first-hand account of that. But but I don't know whether it would go quick. I don't know whether it would go in a flash. But just in general, I thought you were going to say, oh no, Matt, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, like 45 seconds is. Gravity's oof.
Well, it's a son of a bitch. Yeah. I just think because in terms of 45 seconds, surely majority of people potentially on this who are listening to our pod right now have done a plank before, an abdominal plank. 30 seconds doing an abdominal plank is an eternity.
Yeah.
So 45 seconds falling through the air, is that like the same vibe, or is it like, is it a 45 seconds of doing something you really enjoy, so it goes like so quick? Or I can't imagine free falling is that enjoyable.
And look, it's quite possible that she may have blacked out because of air loss or from pulling too many G's.
So true. Yeah. Now, in terms of the reporters in Prague who challenged the height, they said it was 800 meters that they were shot down, so 2,625 feet. Even that, it's 12.78 seconds to fall 800 meters.
Yeah.
So it's still, it's a bit of time because,
you know what's coming.
All right. So she's fallen down thanks to the splat calc for that. Vesna was the only one of 28 passengers and crew members to survive, but just barely. She suffered a skull fracture and she broke her legs.
Yeah.
Fair enough, I think.
I think that's...
Yeah. 3 vertebrae were broken.
Ooh.
And she was temporarily paralyzed from the waist down, and she was in a coma for quite some time. She had zero memory of the flight or her descent.
Okay.
Which I think it makes sense. The brain is a powerful thing that tries to stop you from remembering those things. But that trauma too, it's not surprising that she does not remember that account. So in less than a year, because she's a bloody trooper, she recovered well enough to walk, but she had a limp. She said to the New York Times in 2008, "I was broken and the doctors put me back together again."
I wonder what her settlement was.
Oh, good point. I don't know because I didn't look into that.
I mean, that was going to be my question about Fran or
yes, that's true.
Boy, is if he's got sucked out of a bloody plane and landed on a haystack, I'm sure there would have been some compensation.
You would think,
for the trauma of such an event. And if there's no evidence of that either, that also makes me wonder.
I know. I might have to do a bit of after episode research and bring it back for next week. I'll see what I can find. Now, the kicker is Vesna returned to work at Yugoslav Airlines later in 1972, but she went to an office job, which she negotiated freight contracts, so she wasn't a flight attendant.
Yeah.
She did want to go back to her old job, but the airline says that she wasn't healthy enough to resume it because, she'd been all busted up and she had a bit of a limp. So they were like, nah, you can't do that, but you can go in the office and do freight contracts. Vesna said that they didn't want me because they didn't want so much publicity about the accident. So she feels like they just popped her in an office and closed the door so that she wouldn't sort of talk about it.
I'm pretty sure a great ball of fire and a bunch of deaths on you, the damage is done.
The damage is done, yeah. I don't think little Vesna's going to, make a lot more attention be drawn to that horrendous occasion.
Yeah.
So she continued to fly occasionally, she said, without any fear, which I think is miraculous.
I guess if you don't remember anything.
Oh yeah, true.
Right? Like,
yeah.
You don't have anything to reference. You're just like, well, flying was the same to her before as it was after, because that was the only experiences that she had.
Yeah, that's true. Now, Vesna, who had been divorced, she was living on a small pension. She had 3 cats, and her brother appeared to be her only survivor. Vesna disagreed that luck played any part in helping her to survive the fall. She said, if I were lucky, I never would have had this accident. My mother and father would still be alive because the accident ruined their lives too. Maybe I was born in the wrong place. Maybe it was the wrong time.
Oh.
Thanks, Ves. She just did that quote for me. I did not make that up. That is Bible. That is what she said. So it just really worked perfectly on that little app. So I'm glad that Frayne got me onto Vesna.
Yeah.
But I have another person I'd like to talk to you about.
Just lay it on thick.
I will.
I am here for it.
I like it. I just think there's a variety of stories here, and I'm just going to get into the next one. And again, apologies to anyone because my pronunciation is going to be garbage for this. All right. At around 8:15 a.m. on the morning of August 6th, 1945, Tsutomu Yamaguchi was heading to his place of work when he looked up and he noticed a B-29 bomber soaring over Hiroshima.
Oh, babe.
A small object attached to 2 parachutes dropped out of the plane, and the next thing Yamaguchi remembered was a flash of light like a magnesium flare hurtling towards the city. Is that ringing any bells of any...
Yeah.
Any historical moments that have happened?
I mean, honestly, in that sort of situation, I'd just sit down and be like, all right, here we go.
Bring it on. Now, for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, there was a 13-kiloton uranium atomic bomb known as Little Boy, and it destroyed much of Hiroshima. Just 3 kilometers from the epicenter of the blast, Yamaguchi was violently pushed back before instinctively taking cover in an irrigation ditch. A nautical engineer, he had been sent to Hiroshima 3 months earlier by his boss at Mitsubishi Heavy Industries to work on an oil tanker. It was supposed to be his penultimate day in the city, and he was desperate to get back to his family. Suffering from a ruptured eardrum and badly burned on the upper part of his body, the then 29-year-old spent an anxious night at an air raid shelter with colleagues. Passing through scenes of anguish and torment, he then headed towards the west of the city the following day to get to the train station. With the bridges down, firstly, he's just off to the station the next day. He's just survived an atomic bomb blast. What an absolute trooper. This guy needs a pay rise immediately.
Yeah, and I'll chime in at the end.
Perfect. Now, with the bridges down, he had to cross a river that was full of bloated corpses of men, women, and children, some of whom were stuck together. These disturbing images would remain with Yamaguchi until his death. Yet at the time, his main concern was simply reaching the other side. Wading through the dead bodies, he eventually made it across. I know. No wonder they stayed with him until he perished. Far out. Now, remarkably, the train was still running. That's some incredible engineering right there. A train line that survives an atomic blast. Yamaguchi returned to his hometown of Nagasaki on August 8. He went to the hospital to get his burns treated, and within 24 hours, he was back at work.
What the have a day off,
Just take a day. Take a day. I'm sure there's a personal leave that's like atomic bomb. Like, I survived an atomic bomb blast. So he's back at work 24 hours later.
Sounds like the American way of doing things in annual leave.
It does sound a little bit like that. But, Yamaguchi, whilst he's in the middle of explaining to his boss, who didn't believe him, so he's saying, dude, in Hiroshima, this is what I witnessed. All of a sudden, the engineer was thrown back again by yet another explosion.
Fuck right off. I was like, come on, this can't be true.
Fat Man, the code name for the second of 2 atomic bombs used in warfare, was reportedly due to be detonated over Kokura in Fukuoka, but because of cloud cover, the destination was changed to Nagasaki. The number of people killed outright from the blast was somewhere between 35 and 40,000, while tens of thousands died later from long-term health effects. Mm-hmm. Yamaguchi, who again was around 3 kilometers from ground zero, survived, along with his wife and 5-month-old son.
Oh, thank God.
In 2009, so we're fast forwarding, less than a year before his death, the Nagasaki native became the only person to be officially recognized by the government of Japan as a double hibakusha, survivor of an atomic bomb. As filmmaker Hidetaka Inazuka, I'm so sorry about these pronunciations.
You're doing great.
As Inazuka points out, though, there were many others, including Yamaguchi's colleagues, a couple of his colleagues. Now, Inazuka explained that Mitsubishi had factories in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, so numerous workers would have boarded the same train as Yamaguchi. Now, Inazuka directed a 2011 documentary called Twice Bombed, The Legacy of Tsutomu Yamaguchi, which was on Netflix. I think it's the US Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah, we can find that out. But Inazuka went on to say that the majority of them would have perished in the second attack. However, whilst it's difficult to confirm exact figures, we know that there were over 100 survivors, 100 double survivors. Most chose never to speak about their experiences publicly. In his later years, Yamaguchi was very open about what happened and became like a spokesperson for people who'd survived both. What he went through was remarkable, and Inazuka felt it was really important to make a documentary about it. In 2005, following the death of his son, Katsutoshi, from cancer, Yamaguchi changed his stance, deciding to speak openly about what happened to him at the end of World War II. As well as writing memoirs, he appeared in 2 documentaries. And at the age of 90, he got his first ever passport and flew to New York to address the United Nations. Wow. He also, it's just an incredible story. He also wrote to and got a response from former American President Barack Obama about banning nuclear arms.
Yes, please.
Still now, this is Inazuka was telling the Tokyo Weekender. He said, still now, many people don't know that there were survivors of 2 atomic bombs. The fact that Yamaguchi was so close to both blasts and lived was extraordinary. I first met him in 2005 and immediately sensed his warmth and humility. It felt like he had a profound impact on everyone he came across, including James Cameron, who took time out from his busy schedule whilst promoting Avatar in Tokyo to visit him in hospital for the documentary. 2 weeks after Cameron's visit, Yamaguchi passed away.
Fucking love James Cameron, just putting that out there. Like, whether you like his shit or not, he is just, I think he's a good person. But
yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I couldn't get over that story. And also, like, that is quite literally the epitome of wrong place, wrong time, because Fat Man was never supposed to be detonated in Nagasaki. It was supposed to be over Kokura. Like, that's no joke. Like, that's wild because of clouds. Yeah. So it's a cloudy day, so we'll just go and bomb Nagasaki. And Yamaguchi is there after literally 2 days prior. He's already seen one. He doesn't need to see another one. Leave the man alone. Can't believe it.
Wilkinson. I'm genuinely a bit speechless. Sorry.
No, that's okay. When I read that, and that was, and there is so much more. We could honestly do a whole episode on Yamaguchi. He is a fascinating person. I cut out a lot of the work that he did later on in his life. So we might even save that. We might do a follow-up on Yamaguchi because he's just an incredible human being. But in the sense of our theme for today and our story arc, I just wanted to put in that key info. So I'll certainly open that up to do a full episode on him though, because holy shit.
Well done. Like, I'm floored. This is such a fascinating topic. And to be honest, I don't think I've ever even seen or heard a podcast go into so deeper in like a level of on the topic of wrong place, wrong time. They might do one story about it, or they might.
Yeah. And they can even be tied in with like a different theme or something. But I think, yeah, there's so many. And Dom, guess what? I've got another one for you right now.
Oh, fuck me. Let's go.
I don't want to end on Yamaguchi, although it is such a profound story. We started with Frayne. He can, do his thing, whether his stories are made up or not. But that got me onto Vesna, and that was a pretty impressive story. We've just heard about Yamaguchi. Now I want to tell you about Jason and Jenny Carnes-Lawrence.
All right. Before you do, just quickly, yes. I have been to Hiroshima, and I've walked the streets and seen the bomb site, and I've gone to the museum there. If anyone is at all interested in that part of our time and history, I cannot recommend enough going there and seeing it, because it's just so eye-opening and profound, and it's not one of those things that you really will get to. I hope no one ever gets to see something like that again. But I have been there. It's really powerful. Go visit if you ever
amazing can. Well, let's put that in our long form Yamaguchi episode. You can talk a bit about your trip there, and because I've never heard your story about that trip, I'm keen.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Jason and Jenny, is it?
Jason and Jenny.
Oh, love it.
Jason and Jenny Carnes-Lawrence is our next story. Now it's Cairns, as in Cairns, Australia, like the place in Australia. But I'm saying Carnes because it's just, I'm being fancy. So our final little story about wrong place, wrong time today is Jason and Jenny Carnes-Lawrence, who were an English couple from the Midlands. Now, they don't sound like harbingers of destruction. However, they have managed to be accidentally vacationing in 3 cities that were rocked by terrorist attacks.
No, go away.
Not 1, not 2, but 3. So the first disastrous trip that they went to was in New York City in 2001.
Oh my goodness.
Where their sightseeing coincided with the 9/11 attacks on the World Trade Center. After this experience, the couple chose their next trip based on its unlikelihood of being the target of a large-scale terrorist operation. So they went to London. And during their visit, a series of suicide attacks on the London Underground killed 52 people and injured 700. It was the first suicide attack of its kind in the country's history.
Yeah.
Now, not to be put off traveling by 2 harrowing national disasters, Jenny and Jason set out again in 2008. This time, they went to Mumbai in India. They were there on November 26 when gunmen from the Pakistani terrorist group Lashkar-e-Taiba, again, sorry for the pronunciations, everyone, but they attacked several landmark buildings in the city, killing 164 people. Having witnessed these cities in the immediate aftermath of their respective tragedies, the couple offered to press some observations on the mood. Jenny told the Telegraph of Calcutta, India, "I can't imagine somebody opening his shop the next day after his brother was felled by terrorists. He looks sad, but he's ready to pick up the pieces of his life and move on. As I look around, it's impossible to tell that such a ghastly thing happened. In New York, people carried the look of terror in their eyes for weeks after the carnage. In London, the police appeared more scared than the people." In the same article, Jenny further explained her perspective on the series of unfortunate events which follow her vacation plans. "I shouldn't be laughing about it, but it's some strange coincidence for sure. The terrorist attacks just happened when we were in these cities. Maybe we will think about putting it down on paper someday, but neither of us are a particularly good writer." And that's the really abridged version of Jason and Jenny's story of being in not 1, not 2, but 3 cities that had major terrorist attacks at the time that they were there.
This week, Kate, you genuinely got me questioning my beliefs on coincidences, just, whatever.
Oh, really?
But listen to these stories, right?
I know.
like, Frayne, I'm not so convinced on, because
I'm glad I started with Frayne, because I feel like it built up so much more in that second part of our story today. But I feel like Frayne got me onto some of the other stories.
Exactly.
Which I felt it made them feel more powerful and more, coincidental,
Well,
which is so right.
Like Frayne, we just can't corroborate. Vesna, it's one particular event, right? And then you've got Itsuyuku or
Yamaguchi.
Yeah, Yamaguchi, too, quite horrific. But I guess there's a little bit of understanding of, working in certain place, and, it's quite normal for whatever.
Yeah.
But then to finish on a 3-banger, like, actually, that was really poor word
Oh,
choice
goodness.
there.
No, but I understand. A 3-part to the story. Oof.
Wow. That is... Again, I'm proper speechless, Kate. Like, what do you say in these situations?
It's so tricky. Like, there's not much to say. Because, again, I don't want to make light of any of these things, but gosh, as anybody who's listened to any of our episodes, our intentions are pure. We never laugh at these things and laugh at the horrendous nature of a lot of this stuff. But holy shit, like, what a time.
Yeah,
I'll just book a trip to New York. I'll trip where's going to be a really safe city? Oh, off we go to London. Oh, great. Another terrorist attack. Why don't we just swing past Mumbai? Oh, fuck. Okay, cool. No worries. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
We might not book any more trips for the moment.
I think Jenny's correct in saying, that even she laughs about it. Like, sometimes, and people laugh at inappropriate things all the time, and it's a genuinely documented response in times of trauma and so on. I think, and especially in stories like this where it is legitimately just wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah. Actually, on that, I watched, this is just popped into my head, but David Letterman has a Netflix series, which I'm neither here nor there about him, but I enjoy hearing the stories of the people he interviews. And it's, My Next Guest Needs No Introduction, and he has really in-depth chats with people one-on-one. Yeah. And Julia Louis-Dreyfus was one. And she's Elaine from Seinfeld, for those of you that might not know. She's also Selena from Veep. But she won an Emmy Award and then went to sleep, and literally the next morning her phone rang and it was her doctor and saying that she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And her response was that. She said, I just started laughing. I was like, this is 10 hours between me accepting an Emmy Award on the stage at the bloody theatre down the road. And now, hang on, you're telling me I have breast cancer? Like, she just couldn't help but laugh. So in that vein of processing trauma, it's an absolutely well-documented response. So I wouldn't be surprised if, if I was Yamaguchi and I saw the other bloody atomic bomb, I'd be like, are you kidding me? Guys, silly billies, stop dropping bombs on me.
They got it out for me. Well done, Kate. Like, hats off to you. You have done such an incredible amount of research to get all of these stories, to edit them back. It's actually a really big challenge, folks, for those that don't realize and understand. It's not that there isn't enough out there. There's too much for Kate and I sometimes.
Agreed.
So trying to package it and sell it and tell it. Storytelling is an art form. And I'm really proud of you and I, Kate. I think we're very good at it.
I agree. Yeah, it's so kind of you, and ditto. It is tricky to pare it back, but and that's why as well. Sometimes we'll just touch on some things like today's episode. As I said, we could do an episode probably maybe on the last two stories. I reckon you could do it individually on those two. But thank you for joining me, Dominic. I had such a fun time, and thank you to our listeners. And just get on our soch.
Yeah, we want to hear from people. We want to hear your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And as you probably can tell, we're counting down to the launch of our Patreon. It is like, as of today of this recording, which will be a different day when it's released. But as of today, it's 9 days until we launch Patreon. And we are so freaking excited.
Oh, my God.
And don't forget, there is a standing competition. The first person to sign up to our Patreon wins the first inaugural coveted Golden Toot Award, Golden Crapper Award. So
yes, bring it on. And if you don't know what that looks like, then go on our socials, but you can win. It's a legitimate prize. It is a legitimate thing that would be posted to your home or workplace. Like, it's not pretend.
Engraved even with
your
name.
Stop it. You can put it on your mantelpiece. Yeah. You can pop it in your toilet. Oh, that'd look good. A crapper in your crapper.
Yeah. All righty. Well, we'll see you next week. And
we'll do. Love you, Dom.
Love you,
our
Rickies.
listeners.
Love you, Kate.
Bye.
Mwah. Bye.